This podcast aims to help you break in and thrive in the advertising industry. It might also inspire you to create your own agency one day. Today, Gian Lanfranco lends us much needed international lens on how to do just that. Gian is a co-founder and chief creative officer at LNC in NYC. They're a minority-owned and 2021 one-show top 10 independent agency in North America. Gian speaks of his career journey starting out in Lima, Peru, and will take us all over the globe. And I love that he's been working with the same creative partner in crime, Rolando Cordova, since the beginning. Gian and Rollo developed their craft and cultural lens at award-winning agencies such as Saatchi Saatchi Singapore, Wieden+Kennedy Amsterdam, BSUR Amsterdam, Fred and Farid Paris, Havas, New York, and McCann, New York. Their campaigns for iconic global brands like Mini/BMW, Coca-Cola, Chevrolet, American Express, and the One Club for Creativity have been recognized at all the major advertising festivals, including the One Show, Cannes Lions, Clio Awards, and the Effies. I love how honest and transparent Gian is about the importance of awards for getting noticed in this episode, whether for aspiring advertisers or up-and-coming agencies. In this episode, Gian describes his foundational experiences working in other markets and what he looks for when he's hiring the best possible talent for his agency, LNC. And Chicago Portfolio School supports this episode. It's a one-year portfolio school option that has helped thousands of aspiring advertisers break into this industry. Learn more about what they're doing at chicagoportfolio.com, or you can reach out to me and I'll answer any questions. And if you would like to connect with Gian, you can visit our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod, all one word, at Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. And there you can find his contact information and the resources he specifically recommends for you to better your break-in. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Gian, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Fun start there. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm excited to talk to you and, connect with a lot of up and coming talent that is interested in, the story of creativity and how to, get in this industry that is actually really, really tough, but also really genuine and really passionate. So it's great to talk about this.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fun conversation because you are the co-founder and chief creative officer at LNC in New York City. Tell it we're going to talk about that because you started that. What did you say before? 3 years ago?
Actually, a year and 8 months. So it's almost 2 years. It's a dream we sort of shaped for around 17 years since we started. We started back in Peru. We're proud Peruvians. There's not that many around the world, so we're all like a tight community in the ad industry. And we had the chance to leave Peru at a young age. Thanks to winning an award in Cannes. The Future Lions was the first year they launched it. Ray Inamoto, PJ Pereira, and AKQA launched it, and together with my partner Rollo, we had the chance to win it for the first time, and that opened us the door to to emigrate and move to work at Saatchi Singapore. That was an agency we really loved. David Droga used to work there. Really high creative culture, so it gave us a really great opportunity to get into the industry. So, and then LNC, I guess it's 17 years later. All the agencies we experienced in between. From Saatchi, Wieden+, Amsterdam, McCann, New York, we tried different cultures, and at some point we were like, it's time to sort of try our own thing. What's the worst that can happen is like we go bankrupt, but you already sort of like know
it's money.
It's money, but opportunity is greater. You always have to keep the positive side. I think as South Americans, Rollo and I, we always keep that positive side. And we opened it. The first year was like a lot of trying to, connect with clients, do things. Now we have a, kind of a interesting agency. We're 8 people between Lima and New York. It's a small agency, but we're doing some interesting work for clients like Dole, Spin Master, General Electric. We're working. So it's really cool. So I think it's just a matter of being patient and and trying your best, and then things will slowly pay off, I think.
It's interesting because I guess there's parallels in between starting an agency and starting out in advertising. You have to take it slow, be patient, give it time, keep working hard, persistence, and it'll pay off. Just like the job search process, just like starting an agency. I don't know if that necessarily is one-on-one, but there are some parallels for sure.
I think you are. I mean, when we first started, let's say in advertising, we started advertising in Peru. That is, Peru is a little bit more noticed now in the past years, but when we started, it was like a career that nobody will take, right? It's like advertising in Peru. There's like 3 agencies. 2 of them are pretty decent. The others are, you're gonna write brochures the rest of your life. You're not gonna make money. So it was a market with a lot of complexities in itself. So we were always thinking, we together with Rolo, my creative partner, we are now co-founders of the agency. We went to university, and the piece of creative we had there to read was like the Loser's Archive magazine, right? So that will arrive from Europe, once a month, and we'll read the interviews of Dan Wieden, David Droga, Eric Verbruggen, and see all the. At that time, print was really a thing, right? So like see all the print ads they made, and that sort of gave us like sort of a motivation to be like, we have to try to go outside of Peru. Why not us, in New York or in Singapore or working with this? So we always aim to do that, and I think the only opportunity at the time was like to try to win student awards, because we were students and we were young. So we entered to the Ojo de Iberoamerica, that it was like sort of the best festival for creative work in LATAM. Still is. It's pretty recognized. And we won the first, student competition, first time for Peru. So that gave us some like motivation, and the next year we tried the Future Lions. It was actually the first year, and we won it too. So it was like, oh, great. Let's just go to Cannes and pick the award. We got the invitation. We had to save money to go there. I went with my backpack. My dad gave me like, a couple of $100, and he's like, bring back the change, sort of like, and it was great. We're really grateful, especially, for, PJ Pereira, owner of Pereira Nodel, Ray Namoto, fantastic people that founded AKQA. They gave us great advice. Bob Isherwood, actually, that was the worldwide chief creative officer of Saatchi at the time when I arrived there, and he saw we won an award. He paid the festival for me completely. He even helped me pay my hotel. It was like really fantastic, people like camaraderie, as we say in Spanish, and that sort of allowed us to work first in Singapore, then do some nice work. Then we ended up going to Wieden+Kennedy. That is an agency we dream of. We stayed in Amsterdam 5 years, then go to Paris, New York, and finally, open our agency. That again is like a new start. It's like doesn't matter all the work you've done on all these agencies. You start from scratch. You start building your reel on your new clients, different new things. But, we strive to do basically creative work on every campaign we do. At least we're really proud of all the work we've done last year on LNC. We managed to, we're top 10 most creative agency by the independent agency by the One Show. That is great. Last year,
that's how I found you. That was through LinkedIn. I saw that, and I was like, "What's going on?" Yeah.
So it's great that they're noticing it, and I think creativity always brings like great aspects, and we're just proud of what we achieved this year and 8 months, and we're just gonna keep going. And it's with a lot of, I think, for advice for for students talking, because. You're always studying. Now, for example, we learned other things. I would say we graduated with master's degrees in creating ideas, but how do you open a business is a different thing, right? So it's like being an entrepreneur. Are you going to invest on this? How much? Are you going to start bringing talent? How we had to learn everything from scratch, from our first client to like what we're now. That is still a really small agency, but it's a new skill. And when you're a student, it's the same. You have to start from, let's say, doing ads without a brief or with an invented brief, and then going to do something that a real client actually needs when you go as a junior in an agency. So that might be different, and there's going to be great creative opportunities, but there's also going to be tough briefs, and you need to be professional on both. And I think there's an opportunity on every brief, to do something lateral. We came from when we started in Peru, we actually learned a lot about doing guerrilla. That was interesting because the clients had no money. So it's like, we can shoot a TV commercial, so can you come up with something impactful? So that sort of stayed in our nature. Now we do a lot of earned media ideas. We just did a really cool campaign for Dole, where we put a highlight on food insecurity and also food waste. And we just basically use trash cans and trash bags as media for advertising. That's purely guerrilla. And I think that sort of keeps on our essence. And when you're a student, you're always trying to find the lateral way to think, to think something that is not a 30-second ad, or, that is not out of format. And this is definitely the time to do stuff out of format. So it's a great moment, I think.
Yeah. Interesting. And I want to say, you obviously bring a much needed international experiences podcast. A lot of our guests, United States, pretty much through and through, working at your basic agencies here, your big, large agencies in the United States. So what would you say are some of the big differences from your experience of working outside of the United States compared to here? What have you noticed? How has it made you a stronger creative? What perspective do you think you lend to this industry?
I think there's depending on the market, the agency is different, but I think it's definitely when we came to the US, we first joined Havas. There was a really big agency. It was more basically a media agency than a creative agency, if you will tell. Definitely a different other skills, like the way they present work, the way their value work. So you learn something else, McCann also, we work as a highly creative agency here in New York. We work with John Mescal, Rob Rayleigh, Eric Silver. They were really fantastic. Tom Murphy, really great creatives there that were leading us, our bosses, and you learned a lot of things. Definitely here you get much more scale, and the agencies are bigger, in size, and that makes processes sometimes, faster, but sometimes lower. Sometimes it's like many layers. Well, I would say in Europe, for example, Wieden, we were less than 80 people at the time. Fred and Farid also, we were like around in Paris, around that. And it was a little bit more, the creative process was, more simple. It's sort of like present to one person, that person decides, and, sort of like that gets done, doesn't get done. And people wear many hats. That's something we apply now on our agency. We all wear many hats. I think is good. Like we know as much as creative as production, because a creative need to know, how to make the idea happen too, right? And you also have to know about what the client expects too. So like how to read the client outside of a brief. So I think I would say, it depends. There's also really great smaller independent agencies in US. So it depends if you want to work on a big network or an independent agency. There's Pereira and Odell. There's Mojo Supermarket. There's us. We're definitely smaller, but there's different ways of working. I think for creative people, what you should look first. I think this is an advice, and we
bring it.
Learn from it on a good and a bad way, right? Because sometimes you go to an agency because of the name. You should think about the people you're gonna work with, like more than asking like, oh, am I gonna work at this rimbombant name of agency? Who's gonna be actually my creative director? Which brand? Do they do cool work? I'll tell you from experience, we did our best work outside of LNC at a small agency in Amsterdam called BSUR that had, we were like 15 people.
BSUR?
Small agency, and they randomly won the global mini account for all the world. So we're doing, with a team of 15, just doing global mini work. We did a really great film campaign to launch The Countryman, won a lot of awards. We get to work with a lot of great people. And, when we moved there from Wieden. There was an agency that has all the credentials, right? And, it was like, I think all we learned there at Wieden for like 3 years. Then when we went to BSUR, we sort of apply it in a smaller space. So I think for younger creatives, don't ask the name of the agency, ask who's the people you're going to work with, what are the brands, are they doing cool work constantly? I think that's more a motivation than going to a big name. Maybe the big name is also doing the good ideas too, so that's a win-win. But there's a lot of cases where you go to a big name, and we had a lot of friends, even we lived it too, where you go to a big name agency thinking you're going to do good work, and then you're just like going to meetings or none of your ideas
banner ads
get made. Yeah, you live with PDFs instead of a reel on your website. So the younger you are, I think you don't have responsibilities. Just like yourself, right? No, you don't have kids and stuff like that. So don't value money, value opportunity. Like a bigger agency might pay you more, but a smaller agency you might do cooler things and learn from people that is great, and also wear many hats when you're younger. That is good.
That's a good point, and I always forget that myself. I think first off, it's hard to decline money out of college if you're in debt or you're struggling. A high salary is going to be what really is a big factor, and it should be for a lot of people. But you have to remember the work you create, your portfolio you build, your reels, and your deck. Those are what will keep you long-term successful. You can't, if you're doing good work, if you're doing bad work at a big agency, you're just making coupon ads or banner ads that are not interesting. It's you're not going to grow as much.
Exactly. And I think, one of my bosses actually in Amsterdam, Jason Schrager, he now runs Saatchi LA. He does all this fantastic work for Toyota, but he gave us an advice and he said, you're as good as your last work. Oh, yeah. And when he taught us patience, for example, like that now we're applying a lot is like, when he saws like stress or like trying to overdo work to like try to do something cool, it's like, you just need one great campaign a year. Focus on that one, and I love it. I think simplify things. And when you're a student, you have energy, so you try to do many things. And sometimes by doing many things, you end up doing many mediocre things. Yeah. So it's better to do one silver bullet, bang, and build it. And also, go to student competitions, we started winning student competitions. AKQA Future Lions in Cannes is still one of the big ones. I would recommend you to go there. A lot of exposure. The One Show has a fantastic program. Clio, all of them. So there's and most of them don't charge. I think, or like there's like $50.
Yeah, I'm sure they charge. They like their money for the most part.
I think the Future Lions, I knew they weren't charging. I don't know now, but
I don't know either. But that's a good point. Like there's mixed reviews on awards later in your career. Like, who's picking them? Is it worth it? Are they trying to make money? What's the real value there? But as a student, it is a great way to get noticed. You can't deny that. At any point, it's really a great way to get noticed. And it does help you get your foot in the door to meet people. It's just a fact. And it gives you credentials. Whether you agree with them or not, you can't.
We've been lucky to win awards on our career. And mainly also when we started, I think we were on even a tougher situation because we were in Peru, right? So it's not like you could just like, I'll take a quick flight to New York and meet Greg Hahn at video. No, it's like there's no, you have to get noticed. So winning an award was the only way that they will be like, why I will hire a Peruvian instead of a Brazilian or Argentinians that are much more, well-rounded, I think, because of the culture. So I think awards are important. The problem is when awards are and this is more on a professional level, when awards are the final goal. When people do ads that are not real to win awards, it's called scam. It still happens. Yeah. I think sometimes it's less, but I think the best is to do awards when your work is out there and it's great, and then it wins an award that's satisfying, even if it wins a shortlist or silver or a bronze, whatever.
Look, you want validation for your work. You want people to know what you do. If you truly put it out there and it's not scam, of course, you want people to notice that.
And that's important. I think now the industry is like, oh, are the awards bad or good? I think they were never great and they were never bad. It's something that if you view, if you're a creative person, of course you like the awards, but you like them on work that gets noticed, and if you analyze all the big winners on the festivals, they're all work that it's been, oh wow, I saw this at some point. This is great. That is
right.
And I guess it also helps clients be more creative and trust more the agency to win different objectives. So I think it's, and again, students is a good way to get noticed. Something important too, apart from awards. Something we learned at Wieden, for example, was really interesting. In Amsterdam, when we went there, they kept their awards in the bathroom. And we're like, and we came from a culture in Singapore where, when you walk in, the first they show you is like, oh, this is the award show.
Keeps their awards in the bathroom in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, when we were there, yes, and it was really interesting because it was, when you walk in, you didn't see awards. You basically saw pictures of the people, and you could say. There was so many international people. You could say good morning in Spanish, buenos dias in French. You could say it in so many languages, and they celebrated people. That was really interesting because even in the process of selecting people, they would also, okay, I know you could do good work. A lot of people, everyone here does good work, right?
Right.
But what do you do personally that is interesting? So many people did, if you're a photographer, if you do, whatever you do, you're a skateboarder, they value that. They value what you do as a person too, and that's super important. I think in a world we live in now, and I'm telling you, Wieden was looking at this 10 years ago, or more. So it's a great philosophy of an agency. I think value the creative, not just the ideas he does, but as a whole thing. And I think that also talking about what you were saying before, Amsterdam by itself is a really free society. And there's a really good quality between life and work. I was like really, I possibly stayed later than 6 o'clock in Amsterdam in 5 years twice.
Oh, wow. How's that in New York? How was that?
No, that was the opposite, right? When I worked in agencies, bigger agencies, I mean, now that I'm my own, we also work. No, but we try to keep that European balance of when you have to work, you work, and maybe a Monday you have nothing to do, you go to the park, walk your dog, Right. But definitely on bigger agencies here, there was that idea of working really hard, Saturday, Sunday, or there's pitches. I guess the bigger the agency, the more it pitches too. So, that sort of gives, when you're creative, it's like, oh, I don't want to work on a pitch. It's because, your work might not get done, right? Mm-hmm. Because normally it's not the work. You want to work on something that's going to be produced. I mean, it depends. I think for younger creative people, I think New York is a great market. There's a lot of different agencies from different sizes, from different backgrounds. Us, we're more international, but, there's fantastic agencies that are independent. We're really, I think the agency, I'm a bigger fan. And I know him well, Anselmo with GAT. It's by far my favorite agency of new agencies. I mean, we wish that someday we could be close to what he does. But they're fantastic, and they have a great creative culture. Pereira and Odell has been for many years doing great work. So I think if you're younger, I don't know, maybe I'm independent now, so I like the independence, or I did my best work when I was at independent agencies. So I like the idea of independence for younger people because, again, you will be exposed to do different things and bigger things. It won't be like they hire you just to do a banner or write a copy.
No, you're right. And I think what you said earlier, I wanted to comment on is when you are younger and work-life balance, this whole conversation is a large conversation. We can talk about this for a long time and we can get a lot of different perspectives. But I think what you said interesting was we're younger. For my younger audience, of course, people that recently graduated are still in college. And we have more time. We have less responsibilities. I mean, we're generalizing here. Some people might have kids that are in college or recent grads or married, whatever. But for the most part, this audience here has more time and less responsibilities. And it's inspirational. It's motivating to hear that if we have more time, might as well put it into work we love doing. And you can find that, at any agency. But, putting in the work, working hard, having fun in life, the balance will figure it out. But we're young, less responsibilities, more opportunity. look for the opportunities, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, look for the opportunity, and when you're doing work that you like, the hours are you're not gonna care that much
Doesn't
about,
matter. Yeah.
doesn't matter. And when you're doing work that you don't care, and you're getting paid good money,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel shitty still, right? So, but when you're doing work that you don't that you care, you just wake up at night and change something and get excited. And I
Right.
think that's the key. Do find work that you like, and go to work with people you admire. Like people that you. For us, we always wanted to work with David Droga. He was our hero. We managed to work at Saatchi Singapore when he was still there, well, more in a global role. But we met him, and for us it was like, oh, fantastic! It's like meeting your superstar.
Right.
Commenting on some of your ads, and that's great. And I think that's the idea. Work with your creative heroes. Work with your where the places you see the work that is interesting coming. I would say now there's a really different than 5 years ago. Now there's really, really interesting work coming from agencies that might be a year old, or less, So why not try to get there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those independent smaller shops are really making a name for themselves, and LNC is one of those too. So tell us about like the time and also make sure you're giving your partner a big shout out here. But when you and your partner, what was that moment when you guys realized it's time for us to start our own agency? I want to get in your brain there.
Yeah, it's actually a great question. We worked on different markets. I think we put like over 15 years, Asia, a network agency, highly creative, independent, a strategic agent, like we
And
tried
all
many
these
things.
experiences, so
Yeah.
diverse.
And they were diverse, and we learned from great people. We're grateful. At some point, you're like feeling you're repeating yourself. And then that's when we were like, we were at McCann, and we were like, oh, this feels a little more in our side. It was like a little repetitive. We're not doing have we done any good work? I said, yeah, we did one thing. It took us like a year to make.
Sure.
And then you start questioning, and then you take the risk. And then it's like, or I stay just floating around as a, ECD, whatever you call it, on different agencies, and maybe lose my creative soul just, because of. Or now that we're still young and we have no kids, I have a dog and Rolo, no kids. It's like, or now we just like jump on the pool and do it. What do we need? We actually, we were always reminding us that we went from Peru to Singapore with a backpack and a Peruvian chuyo. Like we could open an agency. Why these guys have that we can't?
Right.
We'll learn. We'll talk to people. We'll learn to everyone that opens something. So we like spend a year talking and even designing our logo, and like, oh, how are we gonna do this? And I think at the end, it was a lot of. The first year was scary. We didn't got a client until the end of that year.
Sure.
But, so we were like living out of our savings, but we were investing a lot of time trying to meet clients, and then we got one client, and then that opened the door to everything. We were like, we're gonna do good work for
client?
this. Dole, actually, that is
Dole.
one of our best clients right now. And it's interesting because we met the CMO of Dole. He has a really great background in agencies, and he wanted to hire us at some point when he was in Singapore. So we had a connection.
Yeah.
And we were fearless too, because we were like, hey, we just opened an agency. If you have a project, and then after, we're like, he will never reply. Like after a week, he was like, oh, guys, I have something. So I think if you do good and you make good connections and you always keep yourself humble and nice, they will open you the door and give you an opportunity. Nobody, for us, they didn't come up and gave us a Super Bowl. They gave us like a smaller thing,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, smaller things. And from smaller things, you can get to bigger things, So like, you have to always be able to, keep going, like okay, do something good. And again, I think creative think that, when you work at big, you get used to like, no, I'm not going to work on this, but this is too little. But I think as we relearned again to be like, okay, whatever he wants us to do, social, we'll make the best social post we can do.
I like that.
And I think that's the element we got back from the energy. And I would say after this second year, we're actually quite stable and doing really good and getting more briefs. And it took like over a year, but it paid off. And now we're
a year's not that long. in the scheme of things. You're
It's
this is
not
gonna be
that
a
long.
100-year-old agency at some point. 1 year is nothing.
Is as you said, it's just a lot of hard work. And the same, I think, when you're a student and you're studying, you're not. I mean, you'll be really lucky if the first month you arrive, you do, a great campaign. But you have to be patient,
Yeah.
and I think that's a quality that as we develop, we always develop patient and wait to the right moment. And I think that's what we did. And I think for students also, like, don't clear your head of the voices. It's like, oh, because if you start comparing, never compare to the others. Just see what the others are doing and get motivated, but never compare yourself to the others.
Yeah, that's hard to do. Hard to do, but it's good. It's good to be reminded for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of friends in the industry. Good friends are doing fantastic. And we always see them like, oh wow, look at what they're doing. Let's hope next year we do something like that. Let's same for next year doing something like that, or the next brief, or like for us, we see agencies like GAT or different agencies, translation, independent agencies we follow, and it's
sure.
Oh, look what they did. This is so. I mean, maybe next year we'll have a piece like they have, a really good creative piece. It might take us longer. We're smaller, but we'll do it. And again, being on that list at the one show, it was great because making it there was something tangible also, and the awards we won also last year sort of tangibilize somehow our success creatively. That it's good. I'm not telling you we're putting at the end we're doing a business and we need to live out of it.
Right,
But
I understand.
That's a great aspect. Awards, if you take them on the right way, you don't obsess of them. You just they pay off of good work naturally. They make you extra happy, and that gives motivation for you to attract talent, for you to be happy, for you to get more clients. It's a win-win. So it's good.
Yeah, understand. I totally understand that. What about? I know you guys have 8 people now, but you've done some hiring. You've hired.
Yeah, we've done some hiring.
You've hired people. Like, so what do you look for when you want to make your agency as strong as possible, even on a small work like what might be a social post? You want to make it as great as possible. So I'm sure you want to hire the best people as possible. What's your process like for that? What advice do you have for our people that are applying and thinking about breaking in?
Yeah, I mean, I think in our side, we really like, take the same approach that we learned. So we want people that is, passionate, that they like creating stuff. We don't care about the years of experience that much. It's like, what it's more the passion. It's hard to value the passion, but I think that's something that for us, we take in consideration a lot, where he worked or where she worked before is relevant, yes, but it's also not that relevant. We worked at great places, we did nothing sometimes, and we worked at smaller places and we did fantastic stuff. So it really, it's more about the motivation, and we have now a lot of people writing us, with all this on the creative side. It's like, well, we can't hire more than now because, we don't have that many, but we hope, we'll hire more. We opened a studio in Peru too. That will have so we like having diversity on the work. I think that's a really good angle and makes the idea more global, like scalable. I think when you make them simple and diverse and you don't rely on some sort of celebrity, on some sort of gag, on some sort of gimmicky gag. We like to do visual, simple work, and I guess we have now someone from Ecuador working with us, people from Peru, someone from US. So it's a mix of cultures. I think that brings the best work because I think best advertising work is collective. It's someone needs to do a part, the other needs to do a part. The ideas it's not like I did the idea and I'm the owner of that time is gone. It's like it's collective. Even the person that wrote the line for the end line of the ad, even if she didn't thought the story or he didn't thought the story. That's as relevant as the person that thought the story itself, because
all in together.
And I think that's important. So collectiveness and diversity is the most important. We're a diverse agency, we're minority owned, and we value that a lot. Like we try to bring things. We do the music, for example, for a client from here. Sometimes do it in Peru, sometimes do it in Argentina, sometimes do it in Paris. I think you mix what we like of this is now we can mix all the playgrounds we've lived before and all the good connections we've made to to make our work a little more rich, and also get the clients production value out of their money. And I think for younger people, just like have ideas, have something about yourself. The craft is important too, but that's something you could learn in the agency if you're young. I'm not saying don't be anything of craft, but more important than something you can't learn is to think, to be passionate, and to have a passion from yourself. Know how to write, know how to art direct. You can be on an agency and learn through years. A funny story: when we started in Singapore and they hired us, Rolo, for example, my partner, he was pushed to be an art director because he didn't speak English well. So I had to switch to copywriter because I spoke better English. So we had to do all these like tricky things. That was interesting because they put us out of our comfort zone when we were really young. And I think it's important to be, exposed to the things you can do. Like us, we like to say, oh, we're pretty good doing ideas. Now, I'm not a good writer. And we have a really great writer here. And, she's fantastic writing. And it's like, well, I don't know how to write it. I know how to make an idea, but, it's collaborative, right? So sometimes we work like that. And it's like, look, there's an interesting idea here. Can you find the exact line for this? And it's like, okay, yeah. So, and then we have an art director in Peru that is really, really good too. And again, it's like, it's collective. He might not be as strong in ideas, but he's good in doing layouts. And so the moment you realize this is like a soccer team, some people need to defend, some people need to attack. Not everyone can be Messi, otherwise it won't work. So right. You need to build an agency in that sense, and everyone needs to be passionate of what they do. If they like writing, they like editing. I think now also you could work from anywhere. I think most of the agencies are doing that. That is great. You don't need to go to a physical. You might go once a week or twice. Sometimes you never go, right? So you can get great talent now because of that context from different places, and I think that will make ads in general better, more diverse.
I love it. How can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about your agency or connect with you personally?
That's great. Well, when you make it's at LNC. .nyc. That's our Instagram.
Yep, I'll include that for sure.
Yeah, we have some follow up there. Also on LinkedIn, they can look for us. Gian Lanfranco, Rolando Cordova, LNC New York, and we were always replying anything, or you want to send your work, or you need any advice. We're always happy to chat, because when we were younger too, we had great people we could learn from too and give us advice. Actually, recently to open our agency.
That's what it's all about. You got to give back. That's why we do this podcast. That's why we interview people. That's the whole point. You can't do this on your own. It's hard to do it. You can do it, but it's hard to do it. And that's why, people like you come on and give advice. So I appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you for the invite. And I'm really excited, Again, Rolo and I started as students. We met in university, and we both we know what it takes to it's a lot of perseverance, a lot of passion to get to do some work you like, and I think that's a quality that is not measured on a book, a passion and persistence, and being there, like trying, I think that's something that you shouldn't lose as a creative. If you already get like, oh, they didn't like my idea, I'm gonna go and drink a beer, bye. No, you need to push it and try and
absolutely.
And keep going.
Great. No, I appreciate all the advice. That's all the questions I have. So we'll have those people reach out to you at Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We'll have all the links listed there. But Gian, this has been fantastic.
No, thank you, Geno. Looking forward to connect next time too.
Yep. All right. Have a good one.
Ciao. Take care.
Did you hear anything on this episode about a job you'd like to have someday, soon, in advertising, strategy, design? The kind of job where you use your brain and your creativity? If you did, chances are a portfolio can really help you get that job. That's where Chicago Portfolio School comes in. They have programs and classes that help you show off your thinking and get you the job you want. So visit them at chicagoportfolio.com. And if you drop my name, Gino, into the chat box, they'll send you more info and a cool Sharpie. Or just some more info. You can decide that. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you liked what you listened to today and you like the guests, please go ahead and connect with them. Easiest way to find their contact information and to see those resources that they recommended for you is to go to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod, all one word. And for some quick thank yous for making this show possible, the first one is the company Shure. It's a microphone company, SHURE. They provided the microphone that you're listening to right now. It's the MV7. It's great for podcasting and other forms of content. So if you're interested in starting a podcast or you're looking for equipment, talk with me. I really recommend the Shure MV7. Happy to give you details on that. And I would also like to thank my two guys, Mikey Malarkey, who's our audio engineer, does it every week. He's the Let's Kick It in the beginning. Thank you to Mikey. And of course, thank you to Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Buchan is responsible, amazing visuals on our Instagram. So thank you, Buchan. And thank you all once more for listening. We will see you next week.